Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Danitrio, and this is the Moonlit Grass. We have a Tatcha Miami Winter's Breath. We have a Tatcha Miami Empress Winter's Breath. We have an Onoto Longitude. We have an Onoto British Museum Great Court. We have the Montegrappa, and this is the Game of Thrones Winter is Here. We have the Enotto, and this is the Magna Carta. We have the Enotto, and this is the Rosetta Stone. We have the Montaggraph Extra 1930 High Tech. And we have the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So we have the Danitrio here. This is a Takumi model, and this is called the Moonlit Grass. A beautiful pen. You can see here you have the moon and the moonlight, and you have some writing here. And you have the grass. So this is the Moonlit Grass version. It is in an Akatamanuri finish, and I don't know why I had problems pronouncing that. Akatamanuri finish, Urushi with Makie, beautiful pen. I picked this up from a friend who was selling it, William Shakur. Beautiful. When I saw he had a Danitrio, that was the first thing I jumped at. He had several classic pens LB5s, which I saw, but it was the Danitrio in an Aka Tamanuri finish that made me quickly message him, and we were able to strike a deal on this one. So this is a very beautiful Fireball Danitrio nib there. This is a fine nib. It is a cartridge converter, so I do find that these threads are quite tight on this model. But you can see it's cartridge converter there. It doesn't have metal threads, so you could eyedropper it. I'm not sure I'd want to though. It is a ebonite pen with Urushi on top. Beautiful pen. Good size in my hand, not massively oversized. I can post the cap if I want to. Let me know if you have any Urushi pens, more so Makie pens like this that you post, because are you normally a cap poster? And if so, would you post your cap on that Urushi? I typically don't. I will show you here on my currently inked or on my pen reviews. But when I'm using the pen day in, day out, I do not post them. So I'd be interested to know if you do post your Urushi pens. Urushi is a hard lacquer. It's a natural lacquer from the Urushi tree. Very hard lacquer. It shouldn't be an issue posting them, but I don't know. Maybe I just feel that I don't want to mar the finish or do micro scratches. Anything that may sort of distract from the beauty of the pen. The next pen here is a Tatcha Miami Winter's Breath. A beautiful pen. I picked this up from Brian at Chatterley Luxuries. It's a combination. Again, most Urushi and Makie pens are based on an ebonite body. This is a Sailor King of Pen ebonite version. And it's then Urushi, but you have these quail's eggs, you have these strips of Varden, and then the Urushi over the top. Beautiful pen. Really do love this pen a lot. It does have the smaller number 6 size Tatcha nib. The Tatcha nibs are made by Sailor. That's I think it's a, is it 14? No, 18 karat gold nib. This is a broad, I know that much. And this is a cartridge converter pen. You can post the cap as well. So you could post it if you wanted to. But again, I'm not normally a cap poster. But do let me know if you do have pens like this, and if you on purposely post them, and whether or not it bothers you, because I'm just intrigued to know. Personally, I don't normally post them, but I'd be interested to hear from you guys if you do. Now, the next pen here inked up is again a Tatcha Miami, but this is the Empress model. So this is a larger model. It's thicker in girth, in diameter. It's slightly longer. If I show you there, you could see the difference there. There's a slight difference there in length. You have also the Makie Urushi on the clip, black clip there as well. Beautiful again, quail's eggs and strips of Varden or abalone shell, and then Urushi lacquered over the top. This one has a King of Pens size nib, number 8 size nib. This again though is an 18 karat gold nib, not like the Sailor 21 karat gold nibs, but this is a medium nib. Again, cartridge converter. You can post the cap as well, but this one doesn't post that securely. It will try and fall off. So again, I don't feel that a lot of these Urushi pens are designed to be posted, and that's another reason why personally I don't post them. But I know some of you will not buy pens unless you can post them. So like I probably would not buy a pen with a triple broad nib or an extra fine nib. So I guess we all have our limitations on what we will and will not accept in a pen. The next pen I had inked up last week. This is the Onoto Longitude. Beautiful ship-faring pen. You have the ship's wheel. You have the rope there that goes around the cap finial. You have the beautiful sort of anchor there. A lot of waves engraved into the cap. And then you have longitude there, and again with more waves. Pinstripe here on the body, and a shackle there on the end. Brilliant pen. I do like it. It's a moderately weighty pen. The cap is at least 2, if not 3 times weightier than the body. The longitude is the Association ship, a British ship, which was lost for a long time and then found. And these are the coordinates of that ship. And this is a cartridge converter pen, like the other 3 pens there. And I'm liking cartridge converters a lot lately. So that is a good size pen. You can post that cap and it will post deeply and securely, but it does make that pen back weighted. I just feel it's uncomfortable to write with if I were to post that cap when writing. I guess, so I was watching a video of Joe Vitolo recently, and he was showing a protractor and showing what angle you write at. And I typically think I write at 45 degrees, but I'm not so sure that I do. Like, that is roughly my angle, and that probably is more of a 30-degree angle. Now, if I was writing more at maybe a 70-degree angle, that cap probably would not be as weighty, because you're having it more in an upright position. But because I write like this, it just pulls the pen backwards and lifts the nib up. So I guess it depends on how you write, what angle you write at. And I do need to actually get that protractor and look at the angle that I write at. I typically think it's about 45 degrees, but that's just eyeing it up. And I have a funny feeling it may be around 30 to 35 degrees that I write at. The next pen inked up here is a pen again I had inked up last week. It's the Onoto British Museum Great Court. And the Great Court in the British Museum is a library or reading room, or I think actually it's more designated a writing room as well. This is a beautiful enamel coating that you have here, and very, very beautiful. And if you're in that room at the British Museum in the Great Court, you have this viewing ceiling window which has this sort of crisscross sort of diamond pattern on the ceiling of that glass roof. And the blue, I think, really accentuates the blue sky. With typically, I'm looking out at the moment, and I'm looking, and it doesn't really look much like a blue sky to me. It's pretty grey here in the UK today. So this is a pen I have inked up, and unscrew the cap there. You'll see there it is an Onoto number 7 size, fine nib, and again it is a cartridge converter pen. And again, I'm loving these cartridge converters lately because it means that I can just refill them quickly. I can change inks more quickly. The next pen I have inked up is this one. Absolutely beautiful pen, and so in awe that I managed to buy this. And I was actually saying to a friend recently, the person, the vendor, the seller that I bought this from, has another one. And it was insane that I bought one, and I'm actually considering buying a second one. And he's already trying to talk me out of it. And honestly, I don't know. I just like this pen. It just has character to it. At least for me, anyway. But it's an insanely expensive pen, and I'm not going to buy the second one. But it is a nice pen. So this is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones Winter is Here. And it is a beautiful pen. I nearly dropped it then. It's a heavy pen. It comes with this stacked celluloid, shiny lines. Has a number 6 size nib there, a medium nib. I do find though that I think Montegrappa missed the beat here. I do think that this section is quite thin. It's comfortable to hold, but I wouldn't want it any thinner. And I do feel like let me show you something here. I'm going to compare it and compare it to essentially another Montegrappa. And those sections are quite different in width. This one is slightly wider. And you can see there that nib is a different profile as well. So I think it would have been better if it had a number 8 size nib on it, honestly. I really do. So I do think Montegrappa did skip a beat there, miss a beat, and they should have made that section wider and put a number 8 size nib on it. That said, I still love the pen. Just like I think that the Tatcha Miami should have had a King of Pen nib on it, and then they brought out the Empress. I don't think Montegrappa are going to bring out another Game of Thrones pen, but or not like this or same model. But I do think that this is a beautiful pen. If you want to, you can post the cap as well, but I'm really worried that you're going to rip that piston knob off because this cap alone is really heavy. So that's not a pen that I would post, but just look at the detail on this pen. If you want to see, if you've not seen it already, I do have a unboxing and review of this pen. Beautiful pen. Have it inked up, and yes, I do write with it. It is inked up. I like writing with my pens. I remember a podcast a number of years ago where the host claimed that I didn't write with my pens, and I have always written with my pens. Whenever I buy a pen, I normally have to ink it up. I've always had to ink it up same day within an hour of it arriving. I'd say that has changed more recently. Sometimes it can be a few days to a week before I ink it up. It really depends on how many other pens I have inked up at that moment in time. The next pen here is an Onoto, and it's the Magna Carta. Not had this on for, I think, a good few weeks, inked up. This is, again, another beautiful pen. I do like Onotos, and so glad that I've been able to get a number of Onotos, including the British Museum, Great Court. This is a stunning pen, has the parts of the Magna Carta engraved into that pen, and a coat of arms there. Again, this is a cartridge converter, and it comes with a number 7 size Onoto fine nib. These nibs are actually made by Bock, Quite a long pen. You can post a cap, but you can see that the angle of that is not going to post that well. So again, these are not really designed to be posted, and I kind of feel that most pens are not. Maybe a good 60% of pens are not designed to be posted. At least, certainly the pens in my collection, I would say that is the case. It may not be the case amongst all pens. I know a lot of lower end pens, mid-range pens, quite a few high-end pens that are meant to be posted. It's just, for whatever reason, the pens in my collection are not meant to be posted. The next pen inked up here is, again, there's another Onoto, and this is the Rosetta Stone. So very similar to the Magna Carta, you've got parts of the Rosetta Stone engraved within that pen cap and within the body there. Absolutely beautiful, and you can see the Rosetta Stone. You don't have the same coin finial though. I think it should have had a coin finial. This, when I say should, it wasn't designed that way, but I think it should have been designed that way. Has an Onoto number 7 size fine nib. Again, a cartridge converter. Again, not really designed to be posted, but this is a beautiful pen. Again, I'm so glad. And I've actually changed the ink in here. I've gone to an ink that I should have inked it up from the start, but I didn't because I had several pens inked up with the same ink. So I've now changed that ink. The next pen here is the Montaggraph Extra 1930 High Tech, and this is a carbon fiber titanium pen. It's a lot lighter than I thought it would be. 1912. It's a Montegrappa. You can see the limited edition number there. Very interesting pen. Very lightweight as well. Comes with, now I think I've said last week, a number 6 size nib. This is actually, I'm pretty sure this is a number 8 size nib actually. Very, very nice nib. It's a cartridge converter. You can post the cap if you want to. The cap in itself is so lightweight, it doesn't feel like metal, but it is. Interesting. I'm guessing that is an aluminium because it is so lightweight. Lovely pen. I do like it. If you like texture on a pen, you will like this. It feels, you can feel the carbon fiber weave. You can feel those little potholes in the cap and that. It just feels very tactile. So if you like tactile pens, that's a pen to get hold of. And then the last pen inked up, again, I had this inked up last week, the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico Egyptian model. Beautiful gold pen, and I love the pattern here. I bought this from Chris at True Fay. I tried to get this actually through Michael at Manuscript Pens, but it was all sold out because there are only, and I'm going to show you this here, only 188 worldwide of these. So they sold out to distributors quickly. It's number 14. So that is an interesting one. You can still buy these at retailers, but you can't buy them from distributors. Or retailers can't, if they didn't order them to start with from a distributor, they're not going to be able to get hold of them. So whatever retailers have stock, that's the only stock that they've got, and they're probably not going to be able to get any more. So if you want this pen, buy it quickly, because I know typically these have sold out very, very quickly. So this is a number 6 size nib, and that is a newer in-house Visconti nib, Bock nib, and it's a medium nib. It's a power vac. It's a single reservoir. You've got the hook safe lock mechanism. Beautiful pen, and I am loving that actually. So I'm glad that I did pick that one up as well. So that's my 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up this week is a Danitrio, and this is the Moonlit Grass. So we're going to do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a fine nib. I find it writes quite wet. It's a beautiful, beautiful writing nib. So this is the Danitrio, and it's the Moonlit grass, and it's a fine, and it's an 18-cat gold nib, and the ink in here is diamine, and it's poppy red, which is quite a nice red ink. The next pen inked up is the Tatcha Miami Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see there, this is a nice writing nib. I'm so glad I got this in a broad nib. This is the Taccia, and it's the Mayabi Winter's Breath. And it's a broad, and it's an 18-cat gold nib made by Sailor. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz, which is a favourite cerulean or turquoisey blue coloured ink. I do like it a lot, and I have always had that one inked up in that ink from the start. Yeah, I don't think I've put any other ink in that one. The next pen inked up here is the Tatcha Miami Empress Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is another nice ink. This nib writes, I won't say wet, but it's moderately wet. So this is the Tatcha Miami Empress Winter's Breath. So this is the larger version. And I got a medium, and again it's an 18-cat gold nib by Sailor. Double checking that it is. And then the ink in here is Diamine Ultra Green, which for me is actually quite a nice green colour ink. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Longitude. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this is the same ink that I had inked up in the Tatcha Miami Winter's Breath. So this is the Onoto Longitude in a medium 18-cat gold Bock Onoto nib. And then the ink in here again is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. But that again is a beautiful blue. But you can see the two differences in colours here. This one's a lot darker, this one's a lot lighter. Same colour ink though, interesting. Just different nibs. The next pen inked up is the Noto British Museum Great Court. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this isn't the same ink, but it's not that far off. Interesting colour. So this is the Noto British Museum Great Court, and it's a fine, and it's an 18-cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Van Vustus, and it is Aqua di Spargi. Again, these two colours here, when if I put, if I were to compare the Enotto British Museum Great Court Vistus Aqua di Spargi with this Tatcha Miami in Pelican Needle Sign Topaz, you would say that the two are very, very different inks. But when you look at these two, the Onoto Longitude and the Enotto British Museum, the inks are almost identical. So quite interesting there. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones Winter is Here. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I do have this inked up with my, I want to say beloved trusted grey, because it is my go-to grey. So this is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones Winter is Here. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey, which is my trusty go-to ink for a lot of my grey pens. And I apologise now, but the next two pens are going to be inked up with the same ink. But you'll see how each nib writes differently with the ink. So the next pen here is the Onoto Magna Carta. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I typically find that this one, because it writes quite wet, it actually writes a little bit more on the darker grey compared to that Montegrappa. So this is the Onoto Magna Carta, and it's a fine, and it's an 18 cat gold Onoto Bock nib, and then the ink again is Diamine Earl Grey. But that is a really nice writing nib. I like how that pen writes a lot. Now, the next pen here is a Noto Rosetta Stone, and typically I ink this up with a lighter grey ink. And I've tried a couple of lighter grey inks, and I just haven't liked the writing experience and how it looked on the page. So this one I have inked up again with my trusty Diamine Earl Grey. I do find that this nib doesn't write as wet as the Magna Carta. And that's probably why I'm not liking a lighter grey in it. But this is the Onoto Rosetta Stone. And this is, again, a fine 18 cat gold nib. I think it writes a little bit drier and a little bit narrower than that of the Magna Carta. And then the ink in here obviously is Diamine Earl Grey. And each nib writes differently. With most pens, that you could get the same pen with the same nib width, and you will find that probably, if you had 10 of them, probably 4 or 5 of them would write slightly differently, if not more so. It's just the way each nib is the heart and soul of the pen. So the next pen is the Montegrappa, and this is the High Tech. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this nib I absolutely love, and I'm liking the colour of this ink as well. And I just want to actually double check, because I keep calling this the Extra 1930. Yeah, I just want to double check. It is that I am right in what I said. It is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 High Tech. And it is a medium nib, and it's just that it doesn't say. I'm just looking at the cap. Normally, Montegrappas will say if it's the Extra 1930 on it, but this does not. But it is the shape of the Extra 1930. So this has a medium 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is KWZ. And I'm going to try and spell it right this week. It's cappuccino. There you go. But that is a beautiful ink. It writes really well in this pen. And I do like it a lot. And then the last pen inked up here is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico Egyptian. Now, I do still have the same ink that I had in it last week. So we're doing an ink swatch. I am still tempted, though, once this runs out, to swap inks and put something a little darker in there. So this is the Visconti Medici. I do have to say, though, it shades really well, this ink. Il Magnifico Egyptian. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ El Dorado. But I do like it, actually. I find it does write nicely on white Tomei river paper. But it has a great shading to it. But it is a little bit more difficult to read sometimes. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Danitrio Moonlit Grass in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Poppy Red. We have a Tatcha Miami Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Tatcha Miami Empress Winter's Breath in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Ultra Green. We have an Onoto Longitude in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have an Noto British Museum Great Court in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Van Vustus Aqua di Spargi. We have a Montegrappa Game of Thrones Winter is Here in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have an Enotto Magna Carta in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have an Enotto Rosetta Stone in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. And you can see the slight difference here. That one is a slightly lighter grey or mid-grey. It's a darker grey and it's a light grey. So you can see how on each pen that these will write, or nibs I should say. We then have a Montaggraph Extra 1930 High-Tech in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with KWZ Cappuccino. And then we have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico Egyptian in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with KWZ El Dorado. So there you have it. That's my current ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.